Out on Route 66. There's a motel that doesn't appear on most maps. Travelers say it's cheap, convenient, quiet, too quiet, because if you check into room 13, you don't check out. Ethan Carter had been driving for 9 straight hours. Arizona desert stretched endlessly around him. His phone battery, 4%. Gas tank, nearly empty. That's when he saw it. A flickering neon sign, Whispering Pines Motel. 1-story building. 6 rooms. No other cars. Inside the office sat a woman in her late 50s. Her name tag read, Margaret. She didn't smile. "Room for the night?" she asked flatly. "Yeah," Ethan replied. "Just one night." She slid a key across the desk. "Room 13. He hesitated. 13. Her eyes slowly lifted. "Problem?" He shook his head. "No, ma'am." The room smelled old, like dust and something metallic underneath. There was a mirror above the dresser, a painting of a forest on the wall. A bathroom door slightly cracked open. Ethan locked the door behind him, checked under the bed. Empty. Checked the closet. Empty. He laughed at himself. Just tired. At 12:46 a.m., he woke up. The bathroom light was on. He was sure he had turned it off. Water dripped slowly from the sink. Drip, drip, drip. He walked toward it. The mirror above the sink was fogged up. Words were written in the steam. "He's still here." Ethan froze. Behind him, a floorboard creaked. He spun around. Nothing. Room empty. But the air felt heavier, harder to breathe. He grabbed his phone. No signal. Battery, 1%. The TV suddenly turned on by itself. Static. Then, a black and white image appeared. Security camera footage. Of room 13. From above. Ethan was standing there, looking at the TV. But in the footage, there was someone else behind him. Tall. Unnaturally thin. Standing inches from his back. Ethan slowly turned. The room was empty. When he looked back at the TV, the figure was closer, his face blurred, smiling too wide. Then the screen went black. His phone died. Ethan didn't wait. He grabbed the room key and rushed out into the hallway. The air outside his room felt colder than before. The neon lights flickered overhead, buzzing louder now. Room numbers blurred as he moved. But something was wrong. There were more doors than before. He reached the lobby. The office light was on. Margaret was standing behind the desk. Not sitting. Standing. As if she'd been waiting. "You gave me the wrong room," Ethan said, trying to keep his voice steady. "There's someone in there." Margaret tilted her head slowly. "No," she replied calmly. "There's only ever one guest in room 13. Ethan slammed the key on the counter. "There's a man in the walls. He was on the TV." "He was." She interrupted him. "Did he smile?" Ethan froze. Margaret's expression didn't change. They always smile when they're close. The neon light above them flickered violently. Ethan stepped back. "What is this place?" Margaret leaned forward slightly. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "It's not a motel." A pause. "It's a doorway." The office phone rang suddenly. Sharp. Loud. Ethan jumped. Margaret picked it up slowly. "Yes?" she said. Silence. Then she looked at Ethan. "He's almost ready," she said into the receiver. A long pause. Then she hung up. The front door behind Ethan clicked shut. Locked. Without anyone touching it. Margaret slid a small stack of Polaroid photos across the desk. "Everyone checks in," she said softly. "No one leaves the same." Ethan looked down. The top photo was him, standing in room 13, taken just minutes ago. And behind him, the tall figure was clearer now. Closer. Margaret smiled for the first time. "Better hurry," she said. "He doesn't like waiting." The lights went out. Darkness swallowed the office. and from somewhere inside the walls, something started moving. Ethan ran back to his room. But the hallway was longer now. Door numbers repeating. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Like a loop, he found his room again. Opened the door. The walls were covered in scratch marks. Deep, like someone had tried to claw their way out. On the far wall, photos, Polaroids, dozens of travelers, all standing inside room 13, all looking terrified. At the bottom of the wall, a new photo slowly slid out from beneath the bed. Fresh, still developing. It was Ethan, standing in the room. But behind him, the tall figure's face was now clear. It had hollow eyes, and Ethan's smile. The bathroom door slammed shut. The lights flickered violently. The mirror shattered. From inside the walls, something moved. Fast. The drywall began to bulge, like something crawling beneath it. Ethan backed toward the door, but it was gone. Just wall. No exit. The tall figure slowly stepped out of the wall, bones cracking as it straightened. Its skin stretched too tight over its face. It spoke in Ethan's voice. Your turn. Ethan tried to scream, but his mouth wouldn't open. The figure reached forward, and everything went black. The next morning, a young couple pulled into Whispering Pines Motel. A man named Ryan and his girlfriend Olivia. They were exhausted. Margaret handed them a key. Room 13. Inside the room, everything looked normal, clean, quiet. Ryan set his bag down. Olivia walked toward the mirror. She froze. What's wrong? Ryan asked. Olivia whispered, There's someone standing behind you. Ryan turned quickly. No one there. But in the mirror, a man stood in the corner of the room, watching, smiling. It was Ethan. Some motels offer rest. Some offer shelter. And some offer replacement. Some stations don't exist on maps, but they exist in memory. Blackridge Station. A place no train is supposed to stop at. A place no passenger is meant to see. And if your train ever slows down there, don't get off. 11:47 p.m. Aaliyah sat alone in her seat aboard the Midnight Express. Outside the window, darkness swallowed the mountains. No towns. No lights. Just endless black. She checked her phone. No signal. Strange. This route was usually busy. But tonight, only 5 passengers remained. An old man near the window. A quiet couple whispering to each other. A conductor who stared a little too long. And Aaliyah. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Darkness. For one full second. When the lights returned, someone was sitting across from her. A woman in a black dress. Skin pale as porcelain. Eyes completely black. Aaliyah blinked. The seat was empty. The overhead speaker crackled. Next stop, Blackridge Station. Aaliyah frowned. Blackridge wasn't on this route. She leaned toward the old man. Excuse me, have you heard of Blackridge? The old man smiled slowly. If the train stops there, don't step outside. Her heartbeat quickened. Why? He whispered. No one gets off at Blackridge. They get called. The train began to slow. Fog covered everything outside. Through the mist, a broken platform appeared. A flickering sign. Blackridge. Figures stood on the platform. Dozens of them. Perfectly still. Not moving. Not breathing. Like mannequins. The train doors slid open. No one boarded. No one moved. Then Aaliyah saw her. The woman in the black dress. Standing outside now. Smiling. And raising her hand. Beckoning. The couple suddenly stood up. Their movements slow. Mechanical. Aren't you going to stop them? Aaliyah shouted. They didn't react. They walked off the train. The doors closed. The train moved again. Aaliyah looked back through the window. The couple now stood frozen on the platform. Like statues. Just like the others. The old man was gone. His seat empty. The conductor approached. "Ticket, please." His smile felt wrong. Aaliyah handed it over. He studied it, then looked at her. "That's odd. You're the only registered passenger on this train tonight." Her stomach dropped. "What about the others?" He leaned closer. "They got off a long time ago." The lights flickered again. When they stabilized, the train was empty, completely empty, except for her. The speaker crackled once more. "Next stop, Blackridge Station." "That's impossible," she whispered. The train slowed again. Same fog, same broken sign, same frozen figures. But this time, she saw the old man, frozen on the platform. The couple too, all motionless, all trapped. A realization hit her. The train doesn't travel forward, collects. The doors opened. The conductor's voice echoed from behind. "Final passenger. This is your stop." She turned. His eyes were completely black now. The woman in the black dress stood outside, smiling wider than humanly possible. Aaliyah tried to stay seated, but her legs moved on their own, each step heavy, cold, like her body no longer belonged to her. As she reached the door, she caught her reflection in the glass. Her eyes, black, just like theirs, and suddenly, she understood. She had never boarded this train. She had already died. The Midnight Express was not a train. It was a passage for souls that refused to accept they were gone. She stepped onto the platform. The doors closed. The train disappeared into darkness. Another statue joined the others. The woman in black now sat inside the train, waiting for the next passenger. If you ever find yourself on a late-night train and hear the name Blackridge Station, stay seated, because some stops are not destinations, they're collections. Maple Street was the kind of neighborhood people trusted. White fences, clean sidewalks, friendly neighbors, the kind of place where nothing bad ever happens. At least, that's what everyone believed. Until the basement was opened. Lucas Bennett and his wife Claire Bennett had just moved into their dream home in a quiet Ohio suburb. Tree-lined street, two-car garage, fresh paint. Their 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, loved it immediately. "Daddy, there's a door under the stairs," Sophie said on the first day. Lucas frowned. There shouldn't be, but there it was. A small wooden door beneath the basement staircase. No handle, just a keyhole. The previous owner, Mr. Harold Whitman, had sold the house quickly. Too quickly. Lucas assumed it was storage. He ignored it. That night, he heard knocking from below. At exactly 2:17 a.m., 3 slow knocks. From the basement, Lucas sat up in bed. Claire stirred beside him. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Before he could answer, 3 more knocks. Slower this time. Deliberate. Lucas grabbed a flashlight and went downstairs. The house felt colder. The basement lights flickered. He walked toward the small door. Silence. He leaned closer and heard breathing. On the other side. Not heavy. Not loud. Just steady. Waiting. Lucas stepped back. The breathing stopped. The next morning, Sophie was drawing at the kitchen table. Lucas glanced at her paper. It showed the basement, and a tall figure standing beside her. "Who's that?" Lucas asked. Sophie smiled. "That's Mr. Smiles. He lives in the little room." Lucas felt a chill. "What does he want?" Sophie shrugged. "He says he's lonely." Claire laughed nervously. "Imaginary friend." Lucas wasn't so sure. 2 nights later, the knocking returned. But this time, it wasn't just knocking. It was scratching, clawing. From inside the small door, Lucas searched the house for the key. After hours, he found it taped behind a loose panel in the garage, along with a note, written shakily, "Do not open it. It mimics." Lucas' hands trembled. Claire begged him not to unlock it, but the scratching was getting louder. Sophie had started talking to someone in her room at night, answering questions no one asked. At 3:03 a.m., the basement light turned on by itself. The knocking stopped, and a voice whispered through the door. "Lucas!" Exactly in his voice. Against his better judgment, Lucas unlocked the door. The hinges creaked. Inside, there was no room, just darkness. Endless darkness. Cold air rushed out, like opening a freezer. Lucas shined his flashlight inside. The beam didn't hit a wall, kept going, like a tunnel. From deep within, he heard Sophie giggle, but she was upstairs. He turned around quickly. The basement stairs were gone, just concrete wall. He was trapped. The darkness inside the doorway began to move, shifting, forming, stretching outward. And then, he stepped out, tall, unnaturally thin, face twisted into a wide grin, eyes hollow. It looked exactly like Lucas, but wrong. The smile stretched too far, its movements slightly delayed. It spoke. Finally. Upstairs, Claire heard footsteps. Lucas walked into the kitchen, but something felt off. His posture too stiff, his eyes slightly darker. "Everything okay?" she asked. He smiled. Too wide. Perfect. Behind him, Sophie stood frozen, tears in her eyes. "That's not Daddy," she whispered. Lucas slowly turned his head toward her, neck cracking. "Of course I am." Meanwhile, in the basement, the real Lucas pounded against cold concrete. The small wooden door now above him, sealed, locked from the outside. He screamed, but no sound escaped. The darkness wrapped around him, and the knocking began again, from his side. Months later, the Bennett house was back on the market. Neighbors whispered about strange noises. The new family didn't ask questions. The price was too good. Their young son found the small wooden door on the first day. "Mom," he called. "There's someone knocking." Upstairs, in the hallway mirror, Lucas stood behind them, smiling, waiting. Some houses don't need ghosts. They don't need demons. They just need a door, and someone curious enough to open it.